Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and we're going to talk a little Donald Trump. Now, when I talk Donald Trump, I often lose subscribers. Why? Well, I'm not a Trump train guy. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to point out where the man does lie to you. And he's not taking down the deep state. Now, on the other side of that, I also give him credit where credit is due. So we're going to go over two separate pieces that are pretty interesting. I'm going to give my point of view on them. And first of all, I hope that this latest thing that Trump is saying is fake news is fake news. Do I believe it's going to be fake news? I don't know. It's tough. It's, really tough to believe the guy. Tells lies, whether you like it or not. So what am I talking about? Well, here, Donald Trump says the story about 12,000 troops to deploy to Saudi Arabia is fake news and blasts anonymous sources after unnamed Pentagon officials claimed he's sending either 14,000 or 7,000 to counter Iran. I reported on that story because I think it's an important story, and it was after he was talking about protecting oil and ramping up troops in that region. Now, he's saying it's fake. I hope he's telling the truth. But if you get down deeper into the article, which we will, he says that he will plan to tell people whether or not he's going to deploy more troops into the Middle East. Not where, but if he's going to put more troops in the Middle East, he's going to announce that in January. Now, on the flip side of that, I was shocked to see this on CNN. I read the whole thing. And, in large part, it's very honest. Donald Trump was elected to break the elite. Of course they want him impeached. Now, I don't think it goes completely in depth, but to see a piece that's actually being fair to Trump and saying that all of this is in vain and nonsense, and they've wanted to impeach him since before he was even sworn in, that they wanted to undo the election. You don't see that on CNN very much. So we're balancing this one. And just to point out, other than Trump says he doesn't know much about the WikiLeaks situation and Julian Assange, right? He doesn't know anything about it, but he loved the WikiLeaks on the run in. Remember, he was asked this week about whether or not, what his relationship to Prince Andrew was, right? And, he's known Andrew for decades. And the bottom line is that he was there in June, right? In June, and when he was there in June, him and Andrew were together all the time. And they were golfing together. And that was something I reported on. So to say he doesn't know Prince Andrew, well, 6 months ago you were golfing with the guy. You know who Prince Andrew is, Mr. Trump. Please, stop insulting my intelligence. And yet, people that are so on board with that train just refuse to acknowledge these things. They refuse to acknowledge we're trying to extradite Assange, who is being tortured 23 hours a day in solitary confinement unjustly in prison. It's an issue. It's a problem. And you have to call him out on it. And again, as much as he's said he's going to get us out of the Middle East, right? Has he gotten us out of the Middle East? Has he gotten us out? And he did this by tweet, and it took a while. Donald Trump denied Thursday night that he plans to deploy 12,000 uniformed servicemen and women to Saudi Arabia. I hope so. I hope so. Refuting a specific set of facts that no one in the major media had laid out. The president ran on a promise to withdraw from what he called endless wars against extremists and has continued to promote himself as an antidote to global military adventurism. And I hope that he is. But now, we're talking about between 5,000 and 7,000 additional troops somewhere in the Middle East. And, he's talking about this being fake news. But if you get down here, he says that, again, in January, we'll let you know. Okay? So are we going to have drawdowns or not, Trump? You haven't given us any. Even when we were, the media bashed him for leaving the Syrian border in Turkey. Remember, we didn't really withdraw those troops. We put them other places in the Middle East. Iraq in particular. You get it? That's how this is done. So I'm hoping he's telling the truth. I'm hoping we're going to have drawdowns. We're going to stop these endless wars. But the proof is in the pudding. Okay? And here it is. Asked about a possible troop increase on Thursday, Trump told reporters, "We'll announce whether we will or not. Certainly there may be a threat. And if there is a threat, it will be met strongly. But we will announcing what we may be doing, may or may not be doing." So I guess that's not in January. I don't know. I must have read somewhere else January timeline. But not really a straight answer there. He's not saying we're getting out. He's not saying it's time to end. It's time to leave Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, none of that. It's time to get out of Yemen. None of it. Now, on the flip side to that, this article really startled me. And, of course, they got to top the article with Jake Tapper talking to Nancy Pelosi about how she prays for Trump. She didn't pray for fucking Trump. The hell out of here. You think this woman prays for anybody? No, she preys on you. That's what she preys on. She preys on you and the public's ignorance. She's a part of the predator class. She's a lower level one. She's not a billionaire or anything like that. She's mostly a little minion, a talking head. But she's certainly not praying for Donald Trump. So, let's read this. When the global elite are aligned against him and laughing like the immature cool kids you hated in middle school, President Donald Trump is winning. When the liberal law professors are neglecting their Thanksgiving turkeys to read congressional transcripts and snarking about Trump's 13-year-old son, Trump is winning. When the politicians are mad, so mad that they have shut down all policymaking to impeach the President of the United States on what constitutional scholar Jonathan Turley called water-thin evidence, Trump is winning. I agree with just about everything he said right there. He's right. You have to remember, Donald Trump wasn't elected to fit in with these people, the political intellectual class, to make them happy or become one of them. He was elected to break them, and that's apparently what he's done. See, that's where we're going to disagree. It appears that way. I mean, to anybody that's like that Trump trainer, yeah, but again, nothing's getting done. The promises he made, largely in peace and getting things done there, aren't happening. It's the status quo. And we couldn't keep Epstein alive. And the swamp is not being drained. You have to remember Donald Trump. After Wednesday's House Judiciary Committee hearing featuring 3 liberal law professors and Thursday's announcement by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi that her conference is moving forward with impeachment, the die is cast. Donald Trump will be the 3rd president in American history to be impeached by the House of Representatives. He's going to be impeached, but he'll be, it's a futile thing. And he writes about that. It's true. And honestly, that's just fine with Trump supporters. He's right. What better evidence is there that you shaken Washington to its core when the minders of the system you've come to despise are leveling the gravest punishment the system permits against the very president who's doing the shaking up? We can lawyer this to death, but for many Americans, this comes down to a simple observation. Trump said he was going to rattle their cages, and by golly, they seemed rattled. He's right. That's how a lot of people do perceive this. Trump supporters have known since election night that this day would eventually come. After all, his sworn enemies have been openly promising it since he was sworn into office. They have, and before that. They've used words like resistance, coup, insurance policy, and impeachment so often that now they are actually doing it. The American people, the Republicans especially, are offering a collective yawn. He's right. Seriously, I don't focus on this. Most people aren't focusing on it because they can see right through it. The only people focusing on it are the mainstream media that are promoting it. They're trying to distract from real issues that we also report here. Rueful analysts staring at television cameras, lamenting and wondering why Republicans aren't fleeing from the president over the impeachment hearings. He stands at a 90% approval rating among his party in the latest GOP poll. And he's arenas. He's filling arenas. No president's doing that. No president was doing that. Nobody. Bush wasn't filling out arenas. Even Clinton was super popular. Not arenas like that. Not on a tour. Not before and after being president. You better believe it. But there won't be massive convulsions in the public opinion because everyone has known for 3 years this was going to happen. He's right. Sure, some Democrats gamely argue that Pelosi didn't really want to go through with it. Bullshit. But it's a half-hearted argument at best. It's true that Pelosi had no choice, although it's not because of the Constitution. Rather, her party's left flank and their inflamed grassroots activists overwhelmed her. There is one-sided partisan impeachment. It's the exact kind of thing Jerry Nadler, now chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, warned the Republicans about in '98 during the Bill Clinton impeachment. There's a lot more on that because they got Clinton in a perjury trap, right? They actually got him to testify. See, that's what Russiagate was about. Trying to get Trump to testify and then get him in a lie and then impeach him. Think about it. And what have Democrats wanted more than anything since Trump's election? Since the confirmation hearings for Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, since Trump made Twitter his private channel to the electorate, since the Mueller probe, since the Trump hotel story, since questions over Jared Kushner's security clearance, since you name it. And he's right. They've tried to use every excuse. The answer is obvious. To undo the 2016 election by any means necessary. It's a political itch that had to be scratched, and Pelosi could not hold off her tormented partisans any longer. Guys, this is on CNN. So here we are, headed to a rushed, hyper-partisan, and futile exercise put up by the very elites Trump rallied against to get himself elected in the first place. But for all the relief they might feel in finally striking this blow against Trump, I wonder, have these Trump opponents even considered what the impeachment signals to the American people? I mean, it is a clown show, right? The partisanship is more important than policymaking. That House Democrats have no confidence in their party's ability to beat Donald Trump in an election, which they shouldn't. Grandma Oatmeal, Elizabeth Warren ain't winning an election. Joey B., who's becoming more senile by the day, has no chance of winning an election. And perhaps most alarmingly, that impeachment, once reserved for the gravest of situations, is now just another tool to inflict damage on their political opponents. Guys, I got to agree with that. If you like this video, thumbs it up. If you're new to the channel, now's the time to subscribe to the Burmis Brigade. We're doing it 3 to 7 times a day. So let's get to that 40K. We're on the way there. All my documentary films free right here in the playlist section. You want to learn about 9/11? Fabled Enemies and Loose Change Final Cut are your best bet. I promise you that. It'll get you going. Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture, my big picture, big globalism films. I highly recommend them as well. So again, thumbs it up, sub, and share. And if you want to financially support me, this is how we're doing it. GoFundMe, baby. $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. It's that time of the year again. And guys, I'm trying to expand. I'm trying to keep my head above water. I'm trying to continue on this platform. So I want to say I love you guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.